These are the versions of the story supposedly written by eyewitnesses.
Mm-hmm.
If you know, depending on which branch of Christianity we're talking about, I guess some people are aware that they're not. But if they're supposed to be written by eyewitnesses, how come so much wide disagreement on the specifics?
G-Man, the Bible is unreliable. Let's take the New Testament, for example. Look how many different resurrection stories there are. How many different resurrection accounts happen. How many different witnesses. And look how many mistakes. Ah, brother. It's time for Preaching to the Choir Ministries.
Tonight we're going to be examining the questions: are the New Testament documents reliable? Who wrote them and when? Do the gospel writers contradict each other in describing the different places that Jesus appeared to his disciples after his resurrection? Now, for the skeptic to disprove Christianity, he must supply proof that, first, the Gospels were not written by the men who claim to have written them. This in spite of the fact that the Christian church in its first 300 years overwhelmingly attested that these men did write them. Second, the skeptic must prove that the authors did contradict each other in their writings. It will not be enough for the skeptic to say, it seems the writers contradicted each other, when a plausible idea can easily harmonize the accounts. Let me illustrate. Picture your family going to Grandma's house for an entire day to meet with all of the relatives in order to celebrate someone's birthday. A few days after this big event, your mother, grandmother, and sister all write letters to your brother at college who wasn't able to come home for the party. Now suppose that someone at the college read all three letters and told your brother that in his opinion, the three writers of the letters shouldn't be believed since they all contradicted each other. Although the three writers claimed to be at the same party, they each wrote about different people and different events that took place. And such contradictions prove that the three letter writers weren't at the same party. In fact, there never was a party at all. Well, after reading the letters, your brother would laugh at such a ridiculous conclusion. Why? Because it would be perfectly reasonable that his mother would describe the health of Aunt Sally and Uncle Bill and tell whether Uncle Charlie had gotten a job. He also wouldn't be surprised that Grandma had described the different kinds of food that she had served and who gave presents to the children. And finally, he would expect his sister to write in detail about which of the cousins brought a date to the party and what they looked like. The brother at college would easily understand in reading the letters that three different points of view were being expressed and easily harmonize all of the events. He would not expect them to describe every single person at the party, or for each of them to write about the same things the others did. Rather, he would expect them to place the emphasis on what they thought was important. And because they did so, he would not think they contradicted each other. Now apply this illustration to the writers of the four Gospels. The skeptics say that if only one of the Gospel writers describes the guards at the tomb, namely Matthew, and another is the only author who tells about a special message that the angels gave to Peter, namely Mark, and a third writer is the only one who gives a full account of the men who buried Jesus, namely John, then these three writers have irreconcilably contradicted themselves. Well, such thinking is ridiculous. Each of the writers was free to record what he thought was important of the events surrounding Jesus' resurrection. And because each writer includes bits and pieces of information which the others do not, there is nothing wrong with that. It is an indication of truthful, independent reporting. We must also keep in mind that when one of the four authors emphasizes some specific person or group, he seldom says that is the only person who was there and no one else was present. These writers usually do not say that Jesus appeared at one place and no other, yet the critic constantly puts words into the disciples' mouths like, "This was the only person mentioned," or "This was the first appearance Jesus made to the disciples." But if the disciples do not say, only this person was present, or this was the first appearance of Jesus, then they should not be forced by the critic to say so.